Sin virus is rapidly expanding its reach into the city. Your assigned contract: purge the virus at any cost. Good hunting, sir.
If there are three things I love in this world, it's Blade Runner, Doom Eternal, and the recent wave of retro-inspired design choices in first-person shooters. Turbo Overkill combines all of these things, having hit Steam just this past Friday. The game is developed by Trigger Happy Interactive in what appears to be their first release, and published by Apogee Entertainment, the company formerly associated with 3D Realms and responsible for games like Commander Keen and, more apt for this comparison, Duke Nukem. Needless to say, the game has quickly made its way into my upper echelon of contemporary boomer shooters. Turbo Overkill takes place in the City of Paradise, a cyberpunk dystopian metropolis that takes a ton of obvious inspiration from the Blade Runner movies and features a fantastic synthwave soundtrack. I wish the soundtrack were a little longer, but there was never a point where it didn't fit the chaos perfectly. You play as Johnny, a cyborg who is tasked by a corporation called Terratech with cleaning up Paradise from sin, a rogue artificial intelligence that is creating monstrosities to take the city over. While the premise sounds like it would share a lot with a series like System Shock and its rogue AI Shodan, it never really dives that deep into the reasons behind Sin's activities. The game, however, does share a lot of DNA with games like Duke Nukem and Quake, so I'm willing to forgive the lack of backstory because I got to start ending lives immediately after being given control.
I have located another biocore in the vicinity. Once you have purged it, I will come pick you up.
The biocores are Sin's connection to the physical world. We originally used them to speed up the augmentation process. Now, Sin is using them to pump out whatever monstrosities it can think of.
The game combines the fast-paced combat of the genre with fluid gunplay and incredibly responsive controls. As is the norm, you fire regularly with the left mouse button, with each gun having an alternate fire ability used with the right mouse button. Though most have to be bought from vending machines that reminded me of El Amo Bandito from Bioshock. The pistol's alternate fire, for example, charges up the shot and locks onto several enemies, and depending on how charged the shot is and what type of enemy you're facing, will just turn them into a red mist, which is precisely how it should be. Given the propensity for chainsaws in first-person shooters, it would be wrong if you weren't given one in Turbo Overkill. Fortunately, you are, and it's part of Johnny's leg. When you press left control, you slide into enemies, and depending on how fast you're moving and how close to death an enemy is, they're promptly turned into small chunks. As the game goes by, you can purchase augmentations to add to your limbs, including 2 for your chainsaw leg that turns those recently exploded enemies into health and armor pickups, and I abused this throughout the game, and it saved my ass at more than one point. I think that anyone who's played Doom Eternal is going to feel right at home with this game. Right from the start, you're given the ability to double jump as well as dash, just like in Doom Eternal. Mid-flight movement control is there too, and learning how to properly navigate levels is key to surviving, especially on the higher difficulties. The game features 5 difficulty levels, ranging from Virgin Blood to Murder Machine, which is easy to Nightmare. I played on Street Cleaner, which is the game's hard difficulty. Each difficulty level changes how fast enemy projectiles come at you, and how much damage you take from said enemies. The difficulty also affects what can be bought at vending machines, how health packs are found, and how fast enemies move. For example, Murder Machine difficulty makes it so your only hope for health packs is enemies dropping them, you can only purchase augmentations from district shops, and enemies move twice as fast. Despite how punishing that all sounds, the game feels incredibly balanced across difficulty levels, up until the final boss fight. When I died, it felt like a learning experience, but like I said, that was until the final boss fight. The final boss fight might be my only real complaint with the game so far. Sure, there are some bugs and glitches, but it's early access, and I'm willing to look past those for the time being. The difficulty spike of the final boss fight is fucking egregious though, and I sat there for over 2 hours dying before I had to get up and walk away. I came back and finished it, but the amount of shit that's thrown at you between enemies, eyeball lasers, and the rotating laser wall that can only be escaped atop 2 small pillars, it makes for a tremendously difficult fight. At no point did I feel like I was learning anything new that would help me finish the fight, or at least do better. For no apparent reason, it's artificially difficult as hell, and frankly, it was probably the least fun part of the entire game.
Position.
That said, when the game is fun, it is a blast. When you're flying Sam your ship, carving through enemies with your chainsaw leg, or running through the obligatory train level, it's great. The references to things like Evil Dead, RoboCop, Dread, or the most obvious in Blade Runner and its sequel Blade Runner 2049 all brought a smile to my face. Even with my one complaint, I'm very excited to see what Trigger Happy managed to do next with this game. There are already 6 or so hours of content in the first episode, and the replayability is huge. Going back to see how much quicker and more efficiently I could get through each level is a blast, and I just enjoyed getting lost in the world of Turbo Overkill. There isn't any reason to not check this game out as soon as possible, and it comes with my highest recommendation.